To know more about PENTAX Medical's commitment to infection prevention, read more about our hygiene commitment on our website.
Final presentation, we have Meredith Smart, who is going to speak about the necessity and value of training for endoscopy reprocessing staff. I will speak to Meredith afterwards because she has pre-recorded her presentation that we can look on right now, so we can start the video.
Hello. Firstly, I'd like to thank PENTAX for asking me to speak today. The title that I've been given is The Necessity and Value of Training Endoscopy Reprocessing Staff. Not a subject I normally talk about. I'm normally talking about bacteria in endoscopes, but we do come across this quite a lot with what we do. So for those of you who don't know me, I am the Director of Emerging Technologies and Research for the Institute of Decontamination Sciences. I also sit on the Education Committee. I'm an Associate Lecturer at Northampton University in Decontamination Science, and I'm still a full-time academic. I actually haven't left school yet, which is interesting at my age. And also I'm the founder of 2030 Labs and the current Technical Director. So when we talk about the necessity of training, we're in 2022 now. We know a lot about a lot, and things have improved significantly in healthcare. So is there a necessity for training still? So in 2022, does anything really go wrong? Is the current level and style of training acceptable? And these are a couple of facts that I researched. So there are no public news articles related to failures because of training of endoscopy reprocessing staff, unless we go to America, but there's nothing in Europe. And the same with the literature review. If you look at a literature review, there's no published evidence of a procedure going wrong because somebody didn't clean the endoscope, or there's nothing about damage to endoscopes due to poor reprocessing staff. So in my position, what do I know? Obviously I'm a microbiologist, so you may say, well, what do you know about this? A fair bit, because one of my jobs is to go out to hospitals when things go wrong, or be in the department to view how they're doing things, and we come across some very interesting things. So this is a picture of something I came across in 2015. I was in an endoscopy unit looking at the endoscopy rinse water, which is my favourite subject, and I turned around to see this. Now, this is an endoscope coiled up in the bottom of an endoscope drying cabinet. We can see here that there are two being processed. I think you can see the distal tips up here dripping onto the said endoscope. Now, you may notice that there's this kind of brown area at the bottom here. Now, this is an Inca pad, so this is the plastic-backed tissue paper that typically go under a patient. And I think we all know that these are white. And the reason that this one is kind of a grey brown was on closer inspection, it turned out that it was full of mould. So I called over the endoscopy decontamination technician that was working in this area, and I said, you know, this is on the floor, this should be hanging. And she said to me, I know, it's waiting for a space in the cabinet, and as soon as I take these out, I shall be hanging it up. So this tells me that this endoscope is then going to be hung up, and it's then going to be used on a patient. After having endoscopes dropping on it, we all know that they're only high-level disinfected, so there may well be residue bacteria in there going onto this endoscope. And I'm in there with the maintenance team because there's an issue with the washer disinfector, and he turns around to me and says, Met, that's nothing. He said last week somebody dropped their BMW keys down the toilet and they placed them in the drying cabinet to dry them off. So at this point I'm quite horrified, and the lady said, no, they were in there for all of 5 minutes before we told him to take them out. Well, looking at this Inca pad, this has been in there longer than 5 minutes. This has been in there for quite a while with this mold growing on. So did the person, my next question, did that person work in this department? Well, it turns out he was an endoscopy decontamination technician too. And he didn't think that dropping keys down the toilet and placing them in a cabinet with reprocessed endoscopes was a problem. So I spoke to some of my contacts in the hospital, some people that we work with, and I said to them, what are the biggest problems in your department? What do you see? And a lot of these concepts were the same across multiple hospital sites in the UK. So endoscopy decontamination technicians using the wrong size brush. What's the issue with this? Damage to the internal lumens, and frequently the brush getting stuck in the endoscope lumen, causing endoscopes to be taken out, having to go off to be repaired. Distal tip damage, very, very common, where they shove the tray into the washer disinfector, the distal tips on the end, smash, cracked. No one knows in endoscopy because they do not test electronically the endoscopes for damage before they go. So you end up with a patient ready to have their procedure, and which they're probably already quite anxious about, and then them turning that endoscope on only to find out they can't do the procedure, which means that the patient then has to go away, they have to be called back. We've already got a lot of time delays, especially with COVID, and that could add 3 to 4 weeks before this patient then gets a diagnosis. And in terms of cancer, that's a long time. T-strainer use, banned in 2012 in the UK with an MHRA alert, it's made a comeback in 2022. 10 years later, we've revived the T-strainer. And recently, it came to light, a reprocessing unit on the South Coast had gone to IKEA. And they're very proud of their IKEA T-strainers. They're not medical devices. We can see from here the rust when they come into contact with peracetic acid. But again, lack of understanding. Transport bags being used to keep the endoscope moist whilst being transported between hospitals. But the people forgetting to add water to that, so they've just put it in a plastic bag. What was the point of using the plastic bag? Removing the top tray of the outside, so when an endoscope's been used, it's not going to be dry, it's going immediately into theatre or a procedure room. They have the cover on to demonstrate that they're clean, and people are opening that on trays in corridors to, oh, is that the right scope? Because they have a lack of understanding that they're in a communal area with uncontrolled air. I've also seen them touching them without gloves on. They've opened it up, moved it all around to have a look at the tag, after they've walked down the corridor pushing a trolley that's not clean. Scopes not being returned in the designated trays. They go out in an endoscopy tray, they've got the return red covers to go on, yet they come back in a box with another one stuck on top of it, or a bit of paperwork. It's horrifying sometimes what we see. But then we talk about the people managing the decontamination technicians. So how does some of this happen? So this is a washer disinfector setup here in the UK. I know you have these machines in Europe as well. And we have an A and B peracetic acid, so we're going to combine these two to make our product. At the bottom of the machine, you can see here is a nozzle that connects to this bottle, and it takes the peracetic acid up into the machine. Somebody comes along and they want to sell an alternative, cheaper product. Everyone loves a cheaper product that does the same, don't they? You know, we go to the supermarket, we go to Aldi, we buy an own brand because it's cheaper than other supermarkets. Why not do an endoscopy? So this company here come along and they say, I've got the same product, but it's half the price. Well, I know they don't have the same product because there are patent laws on this stuff, you know? So they don't have the same product, they can't have the same product. But also from this picture, we can see that they don't have the same product. Because what this company have done is, they've come out and they've reconfigured the dosing. So where it was dosing from here, they've now modified a medical device. This has implications on the MDD, the MDR, on the ISO 13485. This is a registered medical device. now that it's been modified, who's responsible for this medical device now? I do believe that the hospital that gave the purchase order to do this are now the manufacturer of this medical device. So this company have a problem here with peracetic acid, or they make an update to the software on the machine. What happens now? Because this is a totally different system. Another interesting fact on this is, what we can see here is that these custom trays here, this was made to fit in this custom tray, okay? You cannot swap these two chemicals around, they won't fit. If you try and put B in A, it will not fit. Very similar to your fuel. If I did this the other day, I tried to put diesel in my unleaded car and the pump wouldn't fit. Okay, because that's been a very bad outcome for me. The new company here, we can put these around the wrong way, easily. Does this happen? We have seen this happen so many times. In the UK, we do annual tests for disinfection efficacy, and I think we worked out a 9% failure rate, and some of these 9% failures were attributed to people that put the chemistry on the wrong way around because their endoscopy technician, they didn't understand, they didn't know the impact, they'd forgotten which way round it went, and now this is open. Something else we came across, and this again comes back to the endoscopy manager, is the fact that they put this machine, so the hospital had complained, we've got bad rinse water rinsing our endoscopes. The machine had been set up with RO, and they took the RO off this company. They sold them the dream. Bacteria-free rinse water. Remove your RO unit and put a chlorine dioxide dosing unit on. Okay, so we mix these A and B chemicals, we get chlorine dioxide, and we dose the machine with 5 parts per million, and all your bacteria is gone. And this is in a number of hospitals in the UK, which is slightly concerning, considering that the machine that they're dosing into has peracetic acid. And it used the RO water to dilute that peracetic acid. Well, that peracetic acid, which is a medical device, is now being diluted with chlorine dioxide, which is an oxidizer. Mixing oxidizers and acids is bad. There are two things that we know. One, the parts per million of the medical device of the peracetic acid will not be correct anymore. That has an implication on the reprocessing positivity of that device. Secondly, this stuff can create gas. You don't mix acids and oxidizers. So who are the stakeholders in a positive outcome? So we've got the gastroenterologist, 7 years at higher level education to undertake that, seriously qualified. Facilities manager, usually MBA qualified. The people reporting into them are degree qualified engineers. We've got an infection control lead. In the UK, this could be a doctor or a nurse. Again, they've gone on to do higher postgrad qualifications to enable them to do the job. We've got a nursing team of degree qualified nurses who have gone on to undertake specialist postgrad endoscopy qualifications. And the other stakeholder is the decontamination technician, who doesn't have to have any qualifications whatsoever. So this guy walks in off the street. What is the requirement? The requirement is that he has a minimum of GCSE maths and English and attention to detail. I searched for a job advert here. He's going to be undertaking all the cleaning and decontamination of these endoscopes. However, experience is not essential. So he's a key stakeholder and a positive outcome, but no experience is essential. Let's look at the manager, the guy managing him. They must be a fit and proper person. I'm a fit and proper person. I know a lot of fit and proper people. You know, my grandma's a fit and proper person. Could she run your endoscopy unit? Possibly not. They need to be trained for their position. Very generic, isn't it? What do you class as training? More recently in the UK, they're trying to move this to degree, masters qualified people, but it's not a requirement. We see a mixed bag of skills between hospitals. Some people that are highly qualified, through work qualifications, not through formal. But the other thing we need to know is these people are not required to register with an authorised body like any other career, such as pharmacists, biomedical scientists. So what I find terrifying is that you can be in the best hospital in the UK, okay, the best private facility in the UK. You can have the best gastroenterologist that was top of his class from Oxbridge University. Yet the cleaner, the decontamination person who can make or break your procedure has no qualifications whatsoever. And that is terrifying. I'm going to leave you today with a couple of quotes. One from Albert Einstein, who said, "Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learnt in school." And the other is from Nelson Mandela, which is, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." And I hope in the future that education is the most powerful tool that we can use to change endoscopy for the better. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much for that, Meredith. Quite some scary examples and issues that you raise. Just to ask a question before we head into the panel debate, just from your point of view, right, do we really talk here about a training problem, or is it maybe the skill set requirements for the reprocessing staff a problem, that they're not correctly, there in place? What's your view on that?
So personally, I feel that historically, I know in the UK, this person was actually called the cleaner, and that's how they were seen. And in 2010 in the UK, the Institute of Decontamination Science decided that this was not right. And they spent 5 years lobbying to get them recognized. So anybody that cleaned it, they're now recognized as a healthcare scientist. It's been a long road. And from there, we're starting to make formal qualifications, but there's still a long way to go.
Okay, thanks for that. And thanks for that great presentation. And I think it's now time to head up to the next session of the program.